And so we are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Leaders Lighthouse, our podcast from your beacon of leadership. And I am RJ Horner, along with
Curtis Leong
and
Linda Tilson.
And again, we are your beacon of leadership. And like I said, we're calling this podcast Leaders Lighthouse, where that's where we're teaching you from, is from the lighthouse, from the shining light, as we like to call it. And we've been discussing the self-confidence formula in Think and Grow Rich. We are still on step number 2. And I think this is like our 10th episode of this topic or something close to that. In other words, we're doing a deep dive into this self-confidence formula because there's just so much to talk about. And so today I picked out the topic from this, again, second step, because it is about vision or envisioning your future or the person that you want to become. Curtis, do you have your copy handy?
Of which the key points?
Think and Grow Rich?
Yep.
Did you want to read our second step?
Sure. Second step is I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person.
And that's where I saw us going, was that clear mental picture, that vision that you build for yourself. And really, I didn't know once upon a time what my future would look like. I didn't realize that and this is what I said on my Facebook posts and everything today, is that I could see my future. I could predict my future. Why? Because I create the image of the future I want. And that's really what it's all about, is getting in your mind that mental picture. So who do you want to become? Really? What do you want? In fact, that's what I say is, what the do you want? Right? Because that's really what it boils down to. And then how badly do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to go out there and make it happen? Do you want to make it a reality? I'll get into what I imagine for myself and what I imagine for this community beacon of leadership throughout this episode. So who wants to chime in on their thoughts on vision, or the vision of their future, which really is about envisioning what it is you want to become?
Honestly, this topic excites me for the very reason, when you can have that vision of who you are and you know with confidence what you're about, and you start taking the actions that move you towards that, the question that you just put out there is, how bad do you want it? Mm-hmm. Well, the question I ask people all the time is, what would you want to be doing if time or money were no object? And you will get a person's true north, their true passion. And I said, well, what would get in the way of you doing that? And, the answer is usually nothing. Nothing is going to get in the way of this. I'm going to find it. I'm going to make it happen. And so really, I've been doing this in my own work recently. I mean, it started when I started doing some physical fitness challenge back in 2020. So I had a vision. I'm going to do this one thing that I've never been able to do. I did it. And then, it bled into other areas of my life, So it wasn't just a physical fitness transformation. It was the holistic transformation, because all of a sudden, you had this, confidence in being able to execute a goal with precision and then have it be sustainable. And I thought, wow, if I can do that in my physical realm, I can do that in, my mental realm. And so, I really stepped right into it. And I kid people all the time. I say I came alive at 45. I honestly feel like that's what I did. But I say that because, a lot of times we put a timestamp on. I've got to do this by 30, do this by 40, and do you really? Not really. It's never too late to start. It's only too late if you don't start. And the visualization, it sounds like it could be something really hard for some people. I thought, no, it's not. You visualize yourself in a certain role. And for me, my one word beacon, it started with working with a coach on branding. And at first it was kind of like beacon and it felt kind of clunky. But then when I started like going into my word and like, what does it mean to be a beacon? What do beacons do? Oh yeah, I am a beacon. I do these things. And so I started to embody just that word. And, it's probably what brought me here to your team, beacons of leadership, somebody that, beacon of business, beacon of whatever, you shine the light and path for people to come along and join the journey. That's what being a beacon is about.
Awesome. Yep, I agree. The best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. So I like that saying myself, and I'm glad you related that to your life as well, Linda. For me, vision for me would be like just using more of like a visualization in your mind. Like, people play sports. That's sports people do all the time. So I think you do in your life too. That's how I relate it, because I did martial arts for, oh my gosh, like almost 20 years. So so for me, I've done that before. Like, I wanted to compete in the Olympic level, and I did. I want to get my black belt, got that in 2 years. So I think if you have a vision and you want it, even if you just think about it enough and imagining yourself in your own head of getting it, it will happen. It may not be what you think of at the time. It's like, oh, I want this grand thing. But I think the process of your subconscious mind producing the thoughts and actions will come up, because you'll start seeing things like, oh, hey, this comes up, or that will come up. And it will make you like, oh, hey, I can do this. And it's only a little small thing, but because you've envisioned or told yourself what you wanted, it sort of makes it happen in a way that sometimes we don't always think about, because our subconscious mind is the most powerful part of our brain, right? So 95% of what happens. And that's why a lot of times people who get stuck in their lives always like, oh, well, I can't do anything. It's like, because you keep on saying you can't.
Mm-hmm.
Saying,
Exactly.
I can, right? I will do this. I'm going to make this happen by this date. And then magically something close enough. It's like how people talk about money all the time. It's like, oh, I'm going to make $10,000. Well, what do they make? $9,999. Like, so my thing is like, I'm going to make $10,000 and 2 cents. So it just pushes you over that little hurdle. You're going to make 10 grand, right? It's just a funny little thing, because I've done it a couple times with people, and they're like, oh my God, why do you do that for? It's like, well, because almost everybody said I want to make $1 million. What do they make? 9,900 and whatever. Like, they come close, but it's like when they just shoot goal just above what you want, and then you'll hit that goal. So that's how I look at it. But what do you got there, Jay?
Yeah, again, and so that's exactly like if you read further along in the book, really this topic of imagining yourself, meditating on the person you want to become. It's about auto-suggestion. If you've ever heard the term, it's those things we tell ourselves. And like you said, Curtis, if we're telling ourselves, I can't do this, or I don't know how to do this, then that's what's going to happen. That's the outcome you're going to receive. But by telling yourself, I'm capable, I am, right? That I am that we're envisioning.
Very powerful.
You're going to achieve that because you are. You're not becoming this, like I said. I found I can't eliminate that word from my dictionary, by the way, but I've eliminated it from my mindset, because I'm not becoming this person anymore. I'm not becoming RJ Horner that I want to be. I am RJ Horner who I want to be. So, and then I said, what do you want? How do you see yourself? So I haven't taken to given that 30-minute or 15-minute meditation, you know what I mean? Just visualizing. But what I do is I'm constantly imagining this life that I'm creating for myself, this life that I'm stepping into. And that's what I was going to say. I would get to this is that, you know what? I have a affirmation that I use for myself. I am RJ Horner. I know who I am. I know where I'm going.
Yes.
I know what I'm doing to get there. Now, these once upon a time were a little more than an affirmation, because I was doing the things necessary to create this persona or to be this person. But now it's realized, right? I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I know how to get there. I'm working on the process. because I have visualized this all throughout my day, every day for a few years now, right? So there's my meditation on, because we can meditate in moments. We don't have to meditate in take
Specific
15
times,
minutes
yeah.
or take 30 minutes, right? We don't have to give it a time limit. So we can meditate, at the lights when we're sitting there in traffic. We can imagine, we can visualize, we can step into that because we are part of it. In fact, one of the first things, and this is why I say, do you know what your vision is? Have you seen your future? Because if you've read the Success Principles, Jack Canfield, the Success Principles, very first chapter, exercise number 1, imagine the life you want to have completely. The place you want to live, what you're doing for a living, the car you want to drive, where is it located? Describe the house. How much money do you have in the
Specific.
bank? Describe the rooms. Walk through the rooms in your mind, right? Smell the atmosphere, the sense of the garden, the grass, the smoky air, whatever, the fog. Imagine these things completely. And that's really what we're talking about here when we're saying create a vision of your future.
Very
Thoughts?
good.
I had a thought that came up. And so I see what you're saying about the meditation, the visioning, wherever we're at, we do it. I also do something when I'm entering a space where I'm going to do something and the people that are there. So I'm just envisioning the people that I'm going to talk to. They want to know what I have to offer. They are there to embrace some thought, training, inspiration on that person. I'm visualizing myself entering the room, how they're going to respond to me in kind. Sometimes I'll anticipate the challenges that might be in the room or with the people. And I'm just like, yeah, this is why I'm here. This is what my goal is. And I'm going to take in everything around me, and it's going to be, my sandbox. I'm there to learn. I'm there to take things in. And I don't really have this fear of falling on my face or failure. I just think this is what I'm going to go do, and I'm going to go do it. And just in some of the team things that we've been doing, right? Some of the team dynamics, I said, I'm going to go out and contact so-and-so, and they're going to call me back, and we're going to get this, proposal, or we're going to have the speaker. I just see that it is. and when I can get in that space where I see that someone's going to respond to me with openness, they're going to want to meet with me. And we set up a time, we do it. We start throwing around, proposals or pricing or whatever it is. I'm going to do it because I know my intuition's on, point, and it's going to happen. And I didn't used to come from that space. There are certain activities and things that I would do. Their objections. Okay. They're going to give me all their objections. They're not going to pay the price that I want, and all these other things. And so I was, that was what was happening. But the moment I thought, I don't need this, I would like to work with this person, but I don't need it. If they're the right person, they'll pay what I'm asking. We will set up a time, they'll commit, and they'll come. And that's what I've been doing, just being in that space. And so it's a very different space. It's an abundant space. I already have what I need. I'm putting it out for the person that would like to take it in. And from there,
So it looks like Linda's got an off signal.
The obstacles, really. I might look for things I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because I am this persona that I put myself into.
Mm-hmm. And I like that you said persona, by the way, because look, I created my identification, which is RJ Horner. Look, I'm Robert John Horner, but truthfully, nobody's going to remember Robert or Robert John. Nobody wants to know that guy. But RJ, people know RJ. They remember RJ. And so I created that as a way to draw people to me, to draw those people who are going to be attracted to me. So I created that persona. And really, that was a vision of who I was to be, right? So that was something I created. go ahead. Do you have anything to say, Curtis?
Just a lot of times we envision something and then sometimes it changes, and that we gotta learn how
Yes.
to adapt a little bit. Because sometimes think, hey, I want to be, like, let's say I want to be a single man the rest of my life, right? But then you meet woman of your dreams, right? You just never thought you would ever meet that person. There you go, change your life. You have kids, you have dogs, you have a house, you have a mortgage, right? But you love what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure some of us have experienced some of those in our lives, I'm sure. But yeah, sometimes you think of one thing and something else will change it. Because even though you have a vision, say, I want to be a world-class leader, but next thing you know, you become a monk. Like, what happened, right? Just because things
Like
you
Robin
do just
Sharma?
came. Yeah, just he wanted to be a lawyer, and next thing you know, he's a monk, and then he teaches about stuff like that, right? So
Yep.
sometimes our vision can be everything we want, but there's still a plan that we don't know about, right? That will
Mhm.
cause us to, even though this is the plan we think we want, but there's a little bump in the road that may like sidetrack us to where we're supposed to be, right? So even though we may have a strong vision, the reality of it is, hello, Lyndon.
Thank you for bringing that up, Curtis,
Yeah.
because people should hear that. You can step into this being and it can change. It really can, because what you thought was the outcome that you wanted, that person that you wanted to be, or that person you wanted to be or meet, you're right. It can change. And when we are open to being adaptable and we're open to maybe going down a different direction,
Yep.
It can be so uplifting, I guess, because I came from a space where I thought that I wanted to do a thing, and the timing of it didn't work out the way I had envisioned. But I have a new ideal, a new vision, and it's working for me.
That's awesome.
and I had to go through all these different pieces of the journey to realize that the model that I was following didn't fit in with my life, and it was okay that it didn't fit in in the way that I had wanted. I ended up figuring out, wow, this is what I have, and this fits in really nice, and I'm doing exactly what I want on my terms with my new vision, and I couldn't be happier with it.
That's awesome. So you're alive at 45 now. Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. I like that.
And you know what? I think vision
Actually,
is
I'm almost pushing 50, but
I became alive at 45.
we'll edit that part out.
okay. And RJ, I think we're only like days apart. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think vision is a long-term game, right?
It really is.
If you remember, I put in our notes of our discussion today the quote from John C. Maxwell.
Yeah.
When your why gets stronger, the way gets easier.
Yes.
Right. So it's really about the why. It's about where you're going and why you're going there. Right. Because imagine, once upon a time, I said, who am I? Who am I to step into these shoes, right? I said, and this is where I'm going to replace Bob Proctor, Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, all those people who are not here. And Brian Tracy, God forbid, he's not here much longer, however many years that may be. There are these people who have taught us these messages. And that's Brian Tracy, by the way, who that's where I learned that what would you love to do so much that you would do it for free? Right? That quote, that what you said earlier, Linda. And I believe in that. And that's why I got into this speaking and leadership and leading people and creating leaders. And so that's what I envision for myself. And I imagine myself stepping into these shoes and replacing these thought leaders who have led the way for us these last 20, 30 years. They've left us with some valuable messages to carry on and maybe even expand upon, because what they've learned and what they've taught us, I'm sure, is not everything that we have to learn about personal development and growth. And there's more to learn that maybe they didn't know, or with the next 20 years or 30 years, what's going to change? In fact, we never imagined getting hit with COVID, right?
Changing times will affect the lessons that they imparted. And so I don't even see it, RJ, as you replacing these individuals. You are this new thought leader, this person of expertise in these times. And so you organically rise to that. It isn't like you have to like go to a certain place and pass them up, or that they're no longer here. It's just you're growing into that role, and you are. Mhm.
But there was a time where I doubted that, right? Like,
I know
who am
you
I to
did.
step into these shoes? Who am I to replace these or evolve beyond these people, as you're saying?
Yep.
But now I have no doubt. There's
Yeah,
no
why not
question.
you? You know?
Right,
That's
right.
why not?
Yep.
Me? If I can imagine it, if I can vision, and that's the thing about a clear mental picture, because when you're talking about picture, we're talking about an image or a series of images that create this vision. And that really is about your imagination, right? What can you imagine your life to be? And in fact, have you done that, right? Have you considered what you could create or evolve to become over these next 10, 15, 20 years?
I don't even look at it that way. I look at it, what am I doing now that is building? And then I can go to, okay, I'm building this now. I keep it this particular pacing or progress. And yeah, I'll be doing, more of what I'm doing now. And so I'm looking at it that way. I'm looking at what am I doing right now? Because I have to focus on what's in front of me, what's working in front of me. And okay, that's working. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing that, get success. Then I know as the success is coming and I'm recreating and sustaining what it is that I'm doing, then I know that 10 years from now that I'll just be in an even more expansive place.
It's like compounding success.
Yes,
Right.
compounding.
But do you have, is that not your why? Like, do you not have a purpose behind what you're doing here?
Oh, I have a purpose behind what I'm doing. It's actually, it was hidden from me a little bit. That the purpose that I have is in leading teams. I've been doing that for a very long time in my job, and I never really thought about that's what I naturally do. I do operations. I teach leadership. I show people how to communicate. And so it's all centered around teams, because I'm not that entrepreneur that wants to be the solopreneur. I've known that for a very long time. People are like, well, you don't need anybody else. I'm like, yes, I do, because I'm teams focused. I'm others focused. And that is where I'm largely successful, because that's what I do and I enjoy it. So I don't enjoy just being out there by myself. I can do it. I have no doubt in my capability in what I can do and offer and deliver, but I enjoy the team environment. That's just, I like the camaraderie. And so you take away that, then my purpose is no longer there. And so I had to sit with that for a little bit, because it goes against what people have told me. And so I needed to listen to myself. Myself is saying, I love team environments. So I need to be in a place where I am facilitating, teaching, running and managing operations. Anything that has a team-based or focus, that's where I need to be, because that's where I live and enjoy. And I didn't realize that for a long time until I experienced both worlds.
And I will say that's what I've been creating here, is that, you know what, I've had the same thing. People have told me, you can do it, RJ. You can do this. Why don't you just go to, because I'm not a self-centered person. My focus has always been about other people and helping always, since I was a teenager. When we used to go to the bars and hang out with my friends, my role in my group was to make sure that everybody, regardless of how much fun they had, how intoxicated they got, my role was to see that they got home safe. Right. So even then, my focus was always other people. So when I started working on, I want to be in business, I want to, operate in the business world. I need a business in order to have the income and the freedom that I want. I started thinking about teams and working together with other people. In fact, that's one of the concepts I've been working towards teaching, is working together, collaboration, partnering on projects of mutual interest for mutual benefit. Because, and you know what? I brought Curtis into the
Yep.
fold because of that. Now I brought a team organizer and a team leader into the fold because of that. And now I know we're going to move forward. And who knows where this is going to go from here, because we are just at a beginning at this point. We've just registered our business. We've just built this podcast and it's becoming something. We're just talking about our monetization models and how we're going to build this business out.
Yep.
But I know we're at the beginning of the vision that I've been having for many, many years.
We're in activation. That's where we're at.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We're getting the talents and skill sets that complement to be able to do this.
Absolutely. And we are creating something that is built on something we've envisioned for our own future. And that's what I'm talking about, is that bring it here, bring it into your mind, bring it into, and honestly, it is focused in your third eye, right? Where you're constantly envisioning this, what the work you're doing and the work you're moving towards. If it's that house, if it's the wealth, if it's the riches and the pile of money you want to throw up in the air, you know what I mean? Or roll around in your bed, whatever it is that you want, envision it, create it. Do you have anything, Curtis?
I think you're right. I think it's up to you to make that decision, right? To what you want, and then you got to make it happen. And then people just come around, like I did, or like Linda came by, and then people get inspired by what you're all about, and then other people will follow you, and then that's how the dream gets built, because you have it, and other things will just fall into place naturally, just because you have the passion and the courage to talk about it to other people, and then people are like, oh hey, I like that, I'm gonna follow this person. And some people are just like that. Other people who are not interested, they're just going to repel them, right? And those who are attracted to you will come to you. It's just natural process, right? Because I'm
And
sure
that's
you've
okay,
met,
right? The right people will come. Because I've had that come up a lot in different coaching scenarios where people will say, I really want to do this thing for this environment, or this I guess what do you want to call it? They want to do an offering and it doesn't fit the mainstream. And so they're like, well, do I have to twist it around so I can get the other people to come? I'm like, no, you offer your specific thing. And if it's not mainstream, that's fine, because I said the people that you want to serve fit this other demographic, and they will come to you. That's what you're known for. That's what differentiates you. You don't have to fit into the molds of society and the typical services. You can do something that you find very fulfilling. And so when I put it that way, they're like, yeah, it's like, yes, because that's why you're here. You're here. We're having this conversation because you want to go down into a space where you thought that you had to mold to have people come in. And really, you put it out there, the people will come in because you're very specific and clear on who you want to serve. So that is, I mean, once you know that and you stick to it and you're convicted, and this is the population or the avatar or the customer I want to serve, and you stay with it, it happens. And you don't have to entertain any and all to make the dollar. You'll make the dollars because you'll be working in the place where you want. They tell everybody else, and then you have this organic community that builds quickly, actually.
That's right. Perfect.
If you're doing it right, it builds
like
so quickly you have to try and keep up. And, that's where the teams come in.
That's right.
Yeah. And, I don't know if you were looking back at our notes of what I, discussed to talk, but really that's what this vision is all about. We're talking to thought leaders, right? The coaches, authors, speakers, entrepreneurs who want to build a business around their mission. They have people they want to serve. And so what role do you play within that service? How are you reaching these people? Are you a teacher? Are you a mentor? Are you just somebody, a friend guiding along the way, right? What role do you play? But it really is about the people that you serve. Who are you trying to reach? So we figured that out. We know who we're trying to reach. And there's where now we get to talk about the vision for what we're building here with Beacon of Leadership, right? Because Leaders Lighthouse, that's our classroom. That's the place we're going to teach from. We're going to have masterminds here. We're going to have workshops here, all under the banner of Leaders Lighthouse, because we're going to talk to those coaches, authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs. But then the beacon of leadership, which is that bigger thing, that bigger light that's seeking out those people who we're trying to serve. That's a fellowship. That's a select group of people who want to, again, we're leaders building leaders, right?
Mhm.
So we're going to create the leaders who are going to go out there and serve their public. They're going to go out there and reach the people who need their message, their vision, and they're going to take to that vision because it's similar to what they've already been looking for, what they envision for themselves. So they're going to follow along with these people. And that's why we're trying to create the leaders of tomorrow, because it's never been more vital for us to have those leaders. If you've doubted whether you should be a leader, you've always wanted to serve, you don't know how, you don't know why, you just have this passion or desire to serve. That's because you have a calling, as our friend Gary Gradley would like to say. You have a purpose, and you're denying this purpose. But if you're seeing that beacon, it's coming to you again and again and again. It's because you're meant to see that light. You're meant to open up to it. So that's who we're trying to reach. And we're bringing people like that to us so that they can go out and bring that to other people. So that's where Beacon of Leadership is a fellowship of those people who are in a position to serve. And if you doubt that you're meant to serve, I recommend you get another book by Robin Sharma, is The Leader Who Had No Title. It's about a guy who is, he has no drive. He has no initiative. And he's, a bookstore. He works in a bookstore. He's a clerk on, putting books on the shelves and, so doesn't have much initiative or drive in his life. But along comes this mentor who shows him that you can lead from any place in your life. And in fact, with all the people he meets and interacts and helps throughout his day, he's already serving these people. He's already positioning them to when he recommends a book or offers this to somebody, he's serving. So you can serve, you can lead from wherever you are, and they really, you are meant to be a leader. If you're seeing that beacon, that light is coming to you again and again and again, you're meant to serve.
Right on.
That's right. I really love how you mentioned lead from anywhere, because that's true. People forget that. You don't need a title. You just need to be of service and be willing to step up and do it.
And so we've talked about the why, your purpose, your passion, the reason you're doing things. We've talked about the who, the people you serve, the people who need to hear your message. And we've talked about who we serve. And then the how do you serve? We've talked about how we're trying to serve. We're creating the classroom here in the Leaders Lighthouse. And we're going to have masterminds, like I said. I will say, unfortunately, I have limited time right now. I've forced to take on a second job.
Yep.
So I have very limited time. But at the same time, I'm trying to manage my full-time job, part-time job now, my house and home, because I still have to pay attention to my family and my wife. Otherwise, I'm going to distance them and lose them.
Yep.
And now I'm still trying to cater to and build this business out. So I've got 4 things going on that I'm trying to balance and manage. But as Linda mentioned to me, you know what? It's about finding that balance and being able to work with the time you have. So, and I think now that I have a team behind me, it's not, well, Curtis and I, we've come a long way, you and I. But now we have a third person, and we're looking for other people to join this team because we believe in the value of it. We know where it's going. And when it's not just 1 or 2 people building it, it's less effort. It's less time involved. And it's something that comes together as a cohesive unit when we're working together. And that's really what I've been talking about is collaborating and building something that is of value to each other, of mutual interest for mutual benefit. So I don't know what else I can say except create that mental picture, envision it, and repeat that in your mind on a regular basis of the person you are to become.
So what would you in
Go ahead.
a term would you say your daily practice is, RJ?
Sorry, say
Or
that again.
your vision, what would you say your daily practice would be?
Again, I have my card. I read my affirmations or my definite purpose. I do read that out multiple times a day because I actually position it in front of my computer, like underneath my monitor.
Yep.
So I'm constantly reading that to myself. When I have a few minutes and take a break, I read that. It reaffirms everything that I've been working on. But
Right
then,
on.
like I said, constantly, because I know the person I'm working to be, it's constantly an image that may flash into my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't let it just be a flash of the mind. I imagine it and then imagine what I can do to keep that going. What is the next thing I have to do? And there's why, look, we've came up with this podcast. We built this
Yep.
team. We're talking about the classes and things we're working to create.
Yep.
That's all things I envision in these little flashes of
Okay.
mental picture.
Yep. Awesome.
How about you? What's your visionary process?
What I do about 15 minutes of exercise. Right now I'm doing yoga mostly, and then I do stretching for my back and that because I work heavy. I work with a lot of stuff, so I need to stretch out every morning. And then I do meditation, and I do journaling gratitude, and then twice a week I do the journal prompts. So I have a website I go to, and then just find a question and I fill it out, and then I start talking about it. So it's kind of cool. It really opens up your mind differently about different subjects and actually how you think. Because in about 3 weeks, you go back and you look at it, it's like, oh, wow, that's an interesting thought. Because you have moments of inspiration because you've meditated and then you start writing stuff. So you have like sort of like a higher power coming in through a little bit. So
Mhm.
it's
And I'm going to say
interesting.
that's the fourth time today that I've heard journaling and the importance of journaling.
Yep.
So
maybe you start
take that to
journaling.
heart, people, because look, you have a thought, you have ideas, but you're writing down on paper all of those thoughts and ideas, and you're expanding on those thoughts and ideas just by writing it out.
Yep.
So, Linda, what's your visionary process?
I set intentions for the day about what it is that I want to accomplish. And I take protected time every single day, whether it is going out for physical exercise, a walk, just sitting with myself and doing a meditation. I make sure that happens every day because if I'm not taking care of my physical and mental health, it doesn't really matter what vision I put out there because I'm going to be no good to do it. And I like what you mentioned, RJ, about how you've got to make sure your family is your focus. The job that you have that you're doing full time is your focus. And then, use that creativity that we're working on to realize that vision, which is to offer these things because you're right when you say that we have limited time. But because we have limited time, then we're going to do the things that we need to focus on that matter and not be doing out any of the rest of the busyness. And we're leaning on each other to be able to figure out who best can do the things. And when you do that, you actually can accomplish more on a part-time basis in a business than you can for someone maybe doing the full-time because you have to be intentional. You have to have that focus. You've got to have that mental and physical wellness. That's what makes us largely successful. And, I think that's what we have going for us in this model is whether you're wanting to do it full time, you want to do it part time, or you want to do it as your retirement plan. We don't dictate or say that one way is better than the other.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where we stand out. We don't say that you have to do 100% full on to be successful. You can do it part time as well. And, you never know if that part-time will become that full-time and that becomes, maybe you don't have to wait till retirement. In my case, I'm saying I want to be full-time on my retirement doing what I love, but who's to say I don't get there sooner?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no limitations, right?
No, there's not. There's only the limitation I put on myself or my mind by listening to these external things that don't matter. I need to listen to my own intuition, my own mind, and do what's right for me. And the more that I'm convicted and do that, the easier everything has become.
Awesome.
Yep. And I like also that you've mentioned none of us are doing the exact same thing. We don't have, a set process written in stone. Curtis gets up in the morning, he does his yoga and his exercises. You take walks when you find breaks, get your exercise. You find ways to focus your mind. Your family is very important. You take your family time. I think we saw Curtis, we saw London today.
Yep.
We got the wave high to London. So he gets his quality time.
Yep.
Where it comes, right? And then so myself, I also look with all the things I've got going on. I take a break for myself by reading. I've been listening to audiobooks. Well, I mean, I always listen to audiobooks, but I'm listening to a fantasy adventure so that it takes my mind out into another world, right? And it just, I don't focus on the work. I don't focus on all of
Escape.
these things that I'm trying to manage, so that there's some stress relief throughout all of these things that I'm trying to work on and create, so that it doesn't overburden me and I don't get burnt out. I take some time for myself. So I think that's very important to mention for these people who are trying to create this part-time side hustle or venture on the side, whatever you want to call it. Don't get yourself so involved that that you can't manage.
That's good.
That's
I like
right.
that.
So I think we've discussed this topic through and through.
Yep.
Again, the vision you create. And remember, it's of the person that you are trying to become or you're working towards. Don't forget that. Always imagine and envision who it is you're trying to become, and take that meditation time to imagine it and to sit in it and to allow yourself to build upon it. So I think that's the end of step 2 in the self-confidence formula.
I think so.
And I think we will be moving on. I'm pretty sure we've been moving on to step 3.
We did touch on a little bit of that today as well. Step 3, we did touch a little bit. Yeah.
We did. Yes, we did. I mentioned the topic, and I think
Auto-suggestion,
that's what we'll be moving. I won't spoil it at this point, but we will be moving into topic 3 because we did touch upon it today. So
segue seating.
I think there was a little spoiler alert if people paid attention to this episode. So guys, I've enjoyed our discussion. I think it was very valuable. And until next time, I'm RJ Horner, Beacon of Life and Leadership, along with
Curtis Leong. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell if you're watching on YouTube, and comment and like on other social media. Love to see you guys. See what you think about what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Yes, listen to Curtis. And I'm Linda Tilson, Beacon of Empowerment.
And guys, of course, if you like what you've heard from us, you can see it on every one of our background screens here. We have a website where you can find out more about what we're working on. It's www.beaconofleadership.com. So please join us next time for step 3 in the self-confidence formula. Thank you guys, and have a great night.
Right.